Well, we started really good. Obviously, I thought Caban did really good for his 2 innings. Probably tried to do too much when he got to 2 outs. I think in the first inning he went 2 outs and then 2-0 to the next guy and he got him out. But and then the second inning, 2 outs, nobody on. I think he just tried to do too much again. But he got us off to a good start, and I think it was really good to see Storm out there. I thought he threw the ball extremely well. Him and Morris right there in the middle of the game, I thought was pivotal in terms of how they threw the ball. And then going to the bullpen, excuse me, and using Ben. I didn't want to use him in an up-down. I didn't want to get him up, have him throw in an inning, sit him back down, and then have him start the ninth. He threw Friday, through Sunday, and now today's Tuesday. So wanted to make sure. And Louis was chomping at the bit after his start in Austin, and so that's a guy that we wanted to get right back out there. And so I thought in terms of in the first inning, I thought we did a really good job of we got 2 strikes in a lot of those counts, and did a really good job being able to stay with the approach and get some base hits. Obviously, we would like to score a couple more runs, but I thought the offense from the get-go did a really good job in terms of not trying to do too much, and then when we got 2 strikes, doing a good job of kind of being a gritty at bat and give us a chance.
Coach, can you give us a quick health update on Brody Green and then Logan Maxwell's leg injury that he's been battling?
Yeah, you won't see Brody for a while. It's just a hip and growing, and so you won't see him for a while, if at all. And then Logan is, he's not playing left field, just relegated to DH because of his hamstring, and so just trying to nurse him along in terms of we need his bat, we need his offense, but we can't run him out there and have him play outfield and run around the whole night, and next thing you know he comes up gimpy, and so yeah.
Speaking of bats, I don't think I've seen a guy like Bowen hit the ball as hard as he has right at guys for this crazy long stretch, and then he has a little play tonight, a ground ball that sees its way through.
It's baseball, yeah.
Sometimes,
yeah. I think so. I think a lot of times it's such a result-oriented game when he did everything right and doesn't get rewarded for it in the scorebook, and then they always say they even out, but I don't think for hitters they ever feel like they do. And I think the same way with pitchers. When the pitchers get the little cheap hit, they don't think it ever evens out. Baseball is a way of keeping you humble. Keeping you humble just by you see a lot of crazy things, and sometimes his exit velocity probably on his base hit was combined were probably about the same as some of his outs. So it's can't figure it out.
The last 36 innings, I think there's only been 4 or 5 innings where you've given up runs. I mean, that's
that's a lot of zeros. I think obviously Hunter did everything right. He came in and threw a first pitch breaking ball, and the guy looked like he was sitting on it a little bit, and it was just up a little, and he did a good job. But I think the big thing for me was after coming in, first pitch homer, and then he strikes out the side. So that tells you a lot right there. But there's some quality going around, and I think on a day like night like tonight, you saw it's a big game. They're all big, and so we were going to attack it in a way where we definitely you want to make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to win weekends by who you use on Tuesdays, but at the same time, we had some guys that were calling for the ball and wanted the ball, and so all the guys that came out, I thought, threw the ball extremely well.
And the biggest takeaway from a big win like this would be what from you guys tonight?
Well, I think good is good enough. I think sometimes, you just, human nature, 18 and 21-year-old kids trying their tails off, and sometimes trying to do too much and trying too hard and gripping the bat too hard and gripping the ball too hard, and sometimes having an understanding that their good is good enough. We brought up Jamal Murray last night with the Denver, what's the basketball team in Denver? There we go, the Nuggets against my Lakers, and I think he had missed 12 shots in a row, and he was talking to his teammates about maybe looking to get them involved instead of him shooting, and every single one of them said, just keep shooting. And so that's kind of the same thing when you're going through something that's difficult is, a lot of times it's what your teammates are telling you, because sometimes internally you're not telling yourself the right things. And so we just talked about how they just said to Jamal, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. I think he had 14 of his 20 in the fourth quarter and shot the buzzer beater to win. And I don't think he probably ends up doing that if it wasn't for what his teammates were telling him in a tough stretch. I think he was 12 for 40 shooting in the first 2 games. And so, but he was ready for it. Competitive greatness is exactly what that is when the game comes calling, are you ready for it? And, you know, I thought there was some of that tonight. And, you know, baseball, when you're not playing extremely well and not getting rewarded for it, it seems like the end of the world. And it's still a game, and it teaches us a lot. And, you know, it's not going to be the hardest thing that these guys go through. And they can draw on times like this and figuring out how did I get through this and how did I get to the other side. And whether that's now or whether that's in 15 years when you're, you know, 35, 36 years old and you come against something that's really difficult, you can maybe draw upon, you know, some of the things that we're going through right now. And that's the main thing is they show up every single day ready to work. And I think they just need to know that good is good enough.
Kind of going back to the pitching, it seems like the TCU bullpen has gotten better with each weekend and midweek game. Kind of how big is that for the entire team going down the stretch here?
Well, I think it feels good when you know that you have a group of guys that are going to give you a chance. And I think there's some rules that are starting to establish in terms of where we're using guys, situations. You know, but then, you know, guys, like I said, again, another Storm. You know, Storm hasn't really got a ton, but he was ready for it today. And so what does that do? That just hopefully gives us another guy that we can go to in situations. He's starting to earn those opportunities. And, you know, I thought another big thing in a loss on Saturday was Braden Sloan. Braden Sloan pitching more like himself, and now all of a sudden he starts feeling a little bit better about himself. You know, and now Storm, and then you had Louis coming off of Saturday, what he did tonight. You know, we're just trying to get people in place where every time that we open that gate and they come in, that they're at their most confident self, and a lot of that is going out and doing it. You know, and so I think that helps the ball club in terms of you know, trying to keep games, you know, where we need to keep them so that we can get some wins.
You mentioned Louis was calling for the ball tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the year, you've mentioned guys who have been calling for that extra inning, calling for that extra at bat. How do you navigate guys wanting that opportunity versus doing what's best for the team?
Well, I think sometimes it's matchups. I don't always want to go off of matchups. You know, like tonight, you would have thought that Abelt should have started the ninth because they had a left-handed hitter that was hitting 160 against lefties and hitting over 300 against righties. So the numbers say Abelt should be in. But I thought it was a great opportunity for Louis to get the bad taste out of his mouth, you know. And so there's a lot of obviously thought that goes into every move, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and I got to sleep with that and live with it and figure out why it didn't work, and sometimes it just didn't work. And so but what we have to do is try and put our guys in the best situation that they can have success. And sometimes you go on gut feel, sometimes you just go on, you know, I knew after Saturday Louis was going to be jonesing for the ball, like, you know, and that's why we put him in there, just because you know what's inside the guy's chest. And so it's like, here you go, you know, there's nobody else we'd rather have in the ninth inning right now, and he proved it.
We saw a lot of the guys cut their hair, maybe a little bit of mojo change. Any thought maybe you'd cut your hair?
No. I didn't even know anything about it, and then a couple guys took their hats off, and yeah, they went with a little bit more cleaner look. And so, you know, some guys look good, some guys not as much. But no, I didn't have any idea about it, and yeah, I'm not sure where it came from, but yeah, some look good, some don't.